to the Blake and Noah and Jake show. Also, National Sports Day 2 from Boston at Simmons College. We've had a great time so far, enjoying camp. And we got some guest contributors from New Jersey today. We'll start off with Matt Stolboff. He's from Jersey. And then also Andrew Goldstein, a former national sports guy himself. But Matt, why don't you come on and introduce yourself? Tell me your favorite teams and a little about yourself.
Well, hello guys, I'm Matt. I'm from New Jersey. I actually have my own show on Spreaker Radio. It's Sports Talk with Matt. You can go check that out. Follow my Twitter, at mstolboff54. My favorite teams, mainly New York teams, so I like the Giants and the Mets. Those are the main teams I root for. But, for some reason, I like to root for the Phoenix Suns in the NBA. I never really drew close with the Knicks or the Nets. So I like the Suns, but I do follow the Knicks and Nets. I like, baseball, football, basketball, soccer, college sports. Not really hockey. It's my one weakness, but everything else, I'm all for it.
Well, great. Well, Andrew, why don't you tell us a little about yourself? You got an interesting story.
Yeah, well, hey everybody, I'm Andrew Goldstein. You may or may not have heard me mainly last summer doing a show actually on the National Sports Channel. I did NFL Goal Line Live with Nick Rice for a little while, but then he started college, I started my senior year, and time constraints sort of made it difficult, us being on opposite coasts. But, we might start that again someday, who knows. And then I did a show with one of my friends from back home, AM Sports Live. I did that with Matt Markow. And that sort of stalled out, I would say, in October. I'm going to try and do some more like 10 or 15-minute bits by myself in some upcoming time. But yes, I do have experience on the National Sports Channel. This is my first time on, the Blake and Noah show?
We're on the National Sports Day 2 show from Boston.
National Sports Day 2 from Boston.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm from Cranberry, New Jersey, went to school at Princeton High. We'll be going to Marquette University starting in about a month. Favorite teams? Well, now the Marquette teams. Specifically basketball. New York Jets, huge New York Jets fan, wrote a book about them. And by the way, Growing Up Green, Living, Dying, and Dying Again is a fan of the New York Jets on Amazon.com for $18 right now. You see, even on other people's shows, I do shameless plugs. And I really don't have a favorite team in baseball or basketball. I follow basketball a lot, baseball not so much, hockey not so much, World Cup. I used to not follow soccer. I'm trying to get into it, though. But football, basketball, and college football and college basketball are my things. And finally, I very much agree with Stolboff on the Suns. I love them. They're just a great team to watch. I hope they keep Dragic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, great. We've got some great guest contributors, as you just heard right there. I'm your host, Blake Devine. I'm also here with my co-hosts, Noah Taborda and Jake Leiker. So, really excited to start this episode today. But before we start on our topics, I'm going to give you the number to call in, and that is 224-563-8444. One more time for you guys out there. If you want to text in, feel free. If you're a little shy, that's all cool. Also, you can call at 224-563-8444. And also, be sure to like the Blake and Noah Facebook page and the Jake and Noah Kicking It.
Kicking it with Jake and Noah?
Kicking It with Jake and Noah.
It's a soccer show.
Soccer show. They have a Facebook page.
All right. It's getting a little bigger in America.
Yeah, so with that, we're going to move on to our first topic, and that is the NFL. Tony Dungy, the former Colts coach, he made some comments on Michael Sam today. A few people thought it was very controversial. And Noah, why don't you give us a little scoop before we discuss it with the panel here?
Well, first of all, of course, Michael Sam, one of the biggest topics in the sports world right now. Jake, was it you who was reading to me?
His jersey is sixth in jersey sales since April 1st, ahead of Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady.
Well, actually,
that's only going to be for now. Wait till the NFL season starts.
Actually, speaking of jersey sales, before we get into Michael Sam, do you know that Johnny Manziel's number one right now? Hasn't even played a game yet. He's number one.
And Adrian Peterson is not in the top 10.
I wonder why.
The Seahawks 12th fan jersey is actually in that list.
I love that idea. I wish the 12th man would have gotten the cover. Like, just like a like a crowd of Seahawks fans and like
fist curse to an entire fan base.
No, not an entire fan base, just the 4 specific fans that they put on the
Legion of Boom there, so
yeah,
they might all get cursed. The Seahawks 3-4-12 next year. We don't know. That Madden curse is strong.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Noah, why don't you give us a little summary of what Tony Dungy's comments were today?
So we'll start off with this. Tony Dungy basically, the whole point of it was saying I wouldn't have taken him. And this is basically, quote unquote, not because I don't believe Sam should have a chance to play, but I wouldn't want to deal with all of it. It's not going to be totally smooth. Things will happen. So he's basically saying that distractions would factor into it. It's a lot of stuff that he's kind of including. He's not really saying it straight out, but you can infer from what he's saying that it's kind of what he means.
Yeah, I'm going to hand it over to my friend Matt over here. And Matt, what do you think? I mean, this is the first openly gay athlete we have. What is your opinion?
This is one of those things, those topics where if someone asks you about it, if you have a different opinion or an opinion that people won't like, especially this, saying he's a distraction, people are going to take that the wrong way. This is one of those things where you kind of have to keep your opinion to yourself because whatever you say to the public, if you don't say, I would take him, I think he's a great player, people are going to take it the wrong way. And I see what he means. It would be issues like something like Johnny Manziel. It would be the same thing you would say about Johnny Manziel, what people said about him. But it's about a guy who's making a difference in the NFL and difference in professional sports. So it's just people are going to be taking it the wrong way. But I see what he means. But this is one of those things where it's going to you're going to get a negative impact. However you say it, just say, I think he's a great player because you should keep your opinion yourself on this topic.
Mm-hmm. And then, Andrew, what do you think about this? Do you agree with his comments or do you disagree?
Well, first things first, now that the Twitterverse and society in general has generally stigmatized the rote is such and such an elite player discussion, here's the next one we should stigmatize, the term distraction. Because distraction, I think, is the biggest cliche we have in sports today. It's essentially a false causality term whenever anybody wants to describe either the case against a controversial athlete, why a team's underperforming, etc. Very few things are distractions, and if you are if you're trying to make it as a professional athlete and knowing that somebody is of another sexual orientation in your locker room is a distraction, if that's enough to distract you, then I can't imagine like how short your attention span must be. I mean, in terms of like cataclysmic events like Jerry Sandusky and the O.J. Simpson case and all that, those are distractions. And those happen, like once every couple years. So we've sort of devalued the term. I don't think it's a distraction at all.
We know in this era, though, he's going to get a lot of media attention.
Especially, the cat's out of the bag in the Twitter sphere, and people are not afraid to speak out on this. And, you talk about stigmatizing the word distraction.
We need to. It's a complete cliche at this point. It has no value anymore.
You have to remember that the SEC Co-Defensive Player of the Year was picked in the 7th round for a reason, because coaches wanted to avoid that distraction.
No, wait, hold on. I do want to add something, though. He shared that honor with a defensive end from Texas named Jackson Jeffcoat. Jackson Jeffcoat went undrafted. For many of the same reasons that Michael Sam went undrafted, because he's a one-dimensional player with a mediocre speed rush and not much else in this game.
Noah, why don't you talk first, and then we'll let Jake share his opinion.
First of all, statistically, Michael Sam, and I think people have mentioned this over and over again, most of his sacks came in the first few games against subpar teams, not SEC offensive lines.
A bad Florida team, Grambling State, and one other one, I think.
Exactly.
I think it was
Mississippi State.
Akron.
Exactly.
Mississippi State.
And let's also talk about this. This is professional football. By now, you should have a love of the game that's pretty high. And I understand there are distractions, and that happens all the time. Mm-hmm. Take, for example, Jackie Robinson the first time he came in. There's going to be a period where you're going to be questioning what he's doing in the locker room or any point. But the fact is, if he can help you win, and if a team feels that he can help you win, then why not have him there? Shouldn't the Super Bowl come over your own personal fans? Because you love the game that much. You're a professional. Get over the fact that you have an issue with it. You're doing it for the common cause.
I'm just saying that we know that most people aren't going to see that. I'm saying Tony Dungy, whatever he was going to say that would sound like it's going against Michael Sam, we know it's going to make a negative impact on himself. So I'm saying that's maybe not what you think, but that's what most people are going to be thinking.
First of all, I respect Tony Dungy as a coach and what he's done. And obviously, I understand what he's not saying that he's against gay players. He's not saying, he just doesn't want to handle the distraction. That's perfectly understandable. I just feel personally that as a football fan, if I were to see my team react like this, I would personally be disappointed because these are professional athletes and almost every barrier has been overcome. There's obviously still some left. And I trust that eventually athletes will get over this barrier, but it's still a little disappointing.
Okay, Jake, you've been patiently waiting your turn.
Well, I think the first part about this comment here is that I echo Matt's thoughts completely. You know when your mom and dad told you if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all? Now this isn't a question of whether or not this was a nice thing to say. There's nothing positive that could come out of this. Like, is it really necessary to make these comments? Because we wouldn't be having this discussion. There wouldn't be a controversy had he not said these things. But here's part two, since he did make these comments. And I've been sort of very defensive about this entire topic, and it's sort of frustrating that these barriers aren't being broken down soon enough. And we had a really great discussion about last night, the locker room atmosphere. You talk about distractions, and you talk about Twitter's Andrew did. And I think that when it comes to distractions, you'd think Tony Dungy would be the sort of person that would be able to overlook these things. Dante Stallworth, the day that Michael Sam came out, and there was a controversial interview with Herm Edwards, Dante Stallworth fired off a set of tweets that I think really resonated with a lot of people. Quote, Herm Edwards posed a hypothetical question on ESPN regarding drafting Michael Sam. Can the GM, owner, or coach handle the media with this situation? And quote, if any NFL team can't handle the media coverage of drafting Sam, then your team's already a loser on the field. Let me tell you why. There are a multitude of issues that can arise the long duration of an NFL season, some on the field, some off the field. You won't have any idea what that on the field, off the field situation is until it's already upon you and the entire organization. Which means that with drafting Michael Sam, you get a jump start on controlling the media coverage right from the onset. If an organization is inept to the magnitude of not being able to control things with prior knowledge, how will you handle the unexpected?
Okay.
And that's a crucial thing. End quote. And I think he makes a very good point here. I mean, this is Tony Dungy, a fantastic coach. If anyone can handle these quote-unquote distractions, it would be him. If you can't handle distractions like this, you can't be expected to win a championship.
But that's just the thing that as I said, it's just going to put a negative effect on you. And I still respect Tony Dungy 100%, but we know that it's going to affect him at least for a short term.
Well, actually, I think Dante Stallworth made an excellent point that Michael Sam, drafting him into the league is certainly significant. And I'll make this point quickly because I know we want to go on to the next topic. But, it didn't suddenly become the world of Michael Sam. He's a cog in the news cycle, and he'll continue to be a big story until the next big story breaks. So it's not like the team that's drafting him will get unlimited media attention forever. It'll be there for a while, and then it will go away when whatever the next big story is comes to the forefront. I don't think it's a distraction at all.
Okay, with that, guys, we're going to move on to our second topic on the NFL. And this is about Brett Favre and his jersey getting retired. Packers are reportedly planning to retire Brett Favre's jersey at some time soon, but currently this month, President Mark Murphy said it wouldn't happen in 2014. And one reason that Favre is worried about Green Bay fans booing him off the field, but actually, the other day, he said that he was not worried about Green Bay fans booing him and that he would be happy to get his jersey retired in 2014. So that brings me over to Jake, one of the biggest Packers fans I know. Jake, tell me your opinion on this certain debacle going on with the Packers relationship.
Yeah, this issue really hits close to home. And no matter what any Packers fan says, I don't think anyone's really made up their mind on how they feel about Brett Favre. I'm really just not the biggest Brett Favre fan anymore, but I still have a Brett Favre poster in my room. So, at this point, he did so much for the team, but you left on such bad terms that you're left with a bitter taste in your mouth. At the end of the day, Brett Favre doesn't really have to worry about boos, whether they will come or not. I think it's actually a nice gesture that he wants to have this jersey retired in Green Bay, and I think that says a lot. He's made a lot of mistakes. Everything ended on bad terms. And you know what? The fans may boo him. The fans will probably boo him. but they're not going to be very convincing. It's an on-the-fence issue, and I actually appreciate the gesture that he wants to have his jersey retired in Green Bay.
I think that the fans are going to realize that Brett Favre won a Super Bowl for them, and that beats whatever issues he had at the end of his career with the Packers. And they also have to realize that one of the best QBs of all time is going to be retiring as a Packer and go in the Hall of Fame as a Packer. I think they're going to realize that they do have one of the greats, and being one of the greats who won a Super Bowl for the Packers, not like he didn't do anything, is going to, people are going to realize that, and I don't think they'll be booing him because of what he did and not what happened at the end of his career with his tenure with the Packers.
But let's go back to the end of his career. The Cliff's Notes version of this, if I'm not mistaken, and we have a Packers fan over here who can correct me if I get anything wrong. But he retires. Essentially, the Packers move on with Aaron Rodgers.
Comes back.
Then when he unretires, he wants his old job back, even though the coaches have already drawn up the playbook around Aaron Rodgers, consulted Aaron Rodgers about what he's comfortable with. Essentially, he expected the Packers to blow up the entire plan that they just developed so that he could get back. And then when they didn't, he didn't take that very well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, I'm not saying that whether Packers fans should or should not boo for that. The points Matt made certainly has merit. But all I'm saying is, I don't think it's unreasonable for Packers fans to still harbor at least a little bit of resentment about it.
I totally get that. I'm
on the field success or no, he did act like a jerk for those last.
He reminds me a little bit of the whole Landon Donovan situation. He expected to be on the team, and then when he wasn't put out there, he went out and bashed the team. I think the biggest salt in the wound moment with Brett Favre was when he started to criticize Aaron Rodgers after he retired.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing we have with Greg Jennings, and this is actually like a year ago that we talked about it. Greg Jennings coming out saying that the players and the Packers brainwashed them. It's people who are feeling, I think, a little bit bad because they weren't in their plans, because they feel that the team abandoned them to a certain extent, and abandonment is never a good thing. And obviously, being a Packers fan, personally, I love Brett Favre. I understand that there were some bad times, but there are always bad times with great players to a certain extent. And I'm so happy for what he brought us. I mean, even though he has some bad records, he also holds most of the records for being
all-time
touchdowns, passing yards.
Picks, but
no, I don't know about completion,
interceptions. But that's
completions with the other team.
But overall, he's been
he's such a great player. It's not like he was someone like O.J. Simpson who went to jail, essentially. This is a guy who just messed up at the end of his career. And, it's not like it made a big impact. It made a little bit of an impact in sports, but not in the long term.
In the end,
just
I think
for that little bit of time.
In the end, I think Packers fans, like you said, will come to realize that he is one of the greats.
And realize what he did for them and what happened.
It's the same thing with whatever Miami Heat fans are left. That they'll realize that LeBron James brought them a title, and to burn the jersey is ridiculous. Cleveland, you cannot even understand. He's the hometown hero. He never brought them a title, and they feel bad about it. Miami now, to this point, has no reason.
Yeah.
And they'll come to realize this guy brought us 2 titles. He brought us 4 straight championship appearances. And it's the same thing with Brett Favre. You start to realize what you had and how valuable that was.
Well, although just one LeBron-like moment after that first season, like you remember when LeBron just kind of low-key said, hey, I kind of screwed up on the decision. That wasn't the right move. I think that secretly won him a lot of Cavaliers fans back. And I would like just one moment from that, like that from Favre, where he says, hey, I kind of acted like a jerk towards the end of my career. I guess I got a little bit presumptuous. I'm sorry. If he just said that, I think all would be forgiven.
Definitely see him doing that at his Hall of Fame speech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love to see that happen. I think that there's just one question at the end of this, because I know we have to wrap it up. If you are a Green Bay Packers fan and you were there when he retires his jersey, do you cheer or do you boo? No, you're Packers.
I'm cheering. I'm cheering. I don't care. Honestly, the guy brought us a title. Like everybody said, I'm not going to boo somebody who was the most important player on that title run.
I think I would give like a respectful clap, but I don't think I'd cheer.
I would cheer. I mean, as a Giants fan, Plaxico Burress, he got the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. He caught the game-winning touchdown, had his incident when he shot himself in the leg, went to a different team. I'm still going to cheer for him whenever he comes back to Giants Stadium.
I'm still making jokes about that. That was hilarious.
And with me, to be honest, I'd sit there. I'd stand up. I don't think I'd clap though. It's just there's so much indecision with this, and unlike LeBron, I don't think he's a ball.
All right, Blake, you can talk now.
Oh yeah, okay. We just have to wrap that one up due to time, but a good topic at the least. So now, moving on to the next and final topic in the NFL: should a football team move to Los Angeles? This is a city that has not had a team since 1994. That's been 20 years, people. We have the LA Rams. We had the LA Raiders. Both, you could argue that they were successful eras. This is a city that's at a lack of football. I mean, you have USC, you have UCLA. They're very talented teams. You have the Lakers, you have the Clippers, you have the Angels and the Dodgers. But there's always been this stigma that LA is a team in need of an NFL team. And Jake, you're an LA native. Tell us why you think Los Angeles deserves a football team.
Well, it's very obvious. At the end of the day, it's about making money in the NFL. We've seen the way they treat players with their concussions. At the end of the day, money overall. So why would you spurn the number 2 market in the country? That's a lot of big bucks waiting there for you. But I'm done being frustrated by this. I was deprived as a kid of the local football team. We have had so many plans, we have so many ideas, and time again, the NFL has spurned us. To be honest, it'd be the biggest slap in the face once they put 2 teams in London. They're going to put a team in Dublin, Ireland before they put one in Los Angeles. I don't know what we did wrong, and frankly, I don't care. I'm a Packer fan until the day I die, and we all are going to have to pick a different team because for some reason the NFL is not a fan of Los Angeles. Whether or not we deserve it, they're not going to give it to us. It's very frustrating.
Jake, we were talking earlier today, actually, me, Blake, and Jake, about the fact that they are deciding between LA and Chicago, and we all said Chicago. But here's something that I just realized: why? I think they're going to give it to LA now. They want to see how LA reacts to the NFL because they want to see whether or not they're going to have a good reaction. Same thing with the Kings. Kings fan base is obviously growing in terms of hockey. They want to see if that can happen with the NFL because obviously for them it didn't work the first time, and obviously it's a big market. And in the end of the day, I think if the draft can go well there, I think it gives them a much better shot. Obviously, it's not going to be for a couple of years. It could be even probably 10 years by the time they move to Los Angeles. But I think they have to show that they're really committed to it to an extent. And I understand your sentiment. I understand the sentiment.
It's too late to give us a chance. We had our stadium plans in line. We had our farmers field. We had our city of industry. That's when you give us a chance. That's when you pull the fans. Not maybe we'll test the waters, after all of your pristine stadium plans have been destroyed.
But it seems like the best shot they have right now is with Oakland with their contracts will expire at their stadium, the Oakland Coliseum, and they can either stay there or go to LA. But I feel like Oakland fans are just too passionate where you just don't leave them, and you just don't leave Oakland. I don't see the Raiders leaving Oakland because of the fan base, and even if they do stink, the fans still go and they still cheer their hearts out. I think they just build a new stadium there. I don't see LA. That would be their best shot. If they get it, great. But I see it very unlikely. And right now, I don't see LA really having a team now for a long time.
So Andrew,
all right,
are you ready to talk? What do you have?
Now, I figure I jumped in early on the other one, so I thought I'd let everybody else get their cracks in before me on this one. But the NFL is at 32 teams right now, which gives them a nice even number to split up into divisions. So expansion teams will sort of throw that off. That's not to say that they couldn't do it, but if they wanted to keep it balanced, then the best way to do it would be to move a team from somewhere else to LA. Then that means you would have to find a team that has an owner that's willing to let that happen, has an expiring stadium deal with no plans to build a new one, and then not only would you have to have the stadium plans in LA, but public transportation is notoriously bad in LA, so is parking. The logistical stuff you would have to figure out. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, and I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but there are more obstacles than one would think.
Yeah, so Matt, you were about to say something.
I was going to say the best shot, if it wasn't Oakland, is probably going to be Jacksonville. Because of,
You're going to put Shad Khan in LA?
No,
yes! Good idea!
They just built a brand new stadium there. They got giant pools. This is like...
hold on. Sorry.
Yeah, I understand that. I was going to say that, and I was thinking, they just put a lot of money in these pool things. I just didn't attract fans. But fan-wise, they really aren't getting the fans that they kind of were expecting, mainly because the team stinks. But if they really wanted to move a team, if the NFL was really that desperate to get a team in LA, it would probably have to be Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, yeah.
What about Buffalo, though? I mean,
No, Buffalo fans, they love their Bills.
You had 4 Super Bowls in a row. You couldn't come.
Believe me, they love their Bills.
They have a passion.
They have great fans. They have great fans. Here's the thing:
Ralph Wilson made
it has come to the bottom point
there.
for me, where I have to beg John Bon Jovi to move the team to Los Angeles because now he wants to buy the franchise for like $150 million. It's just ridiculous. It's not practical, but the NFL decided a long time ago they don't want to be practical.
It's a football town there. They're going to keep it. Believe me, they're not.
Well, LA is almost more valuable not as a place to move a franchise, but as a place to threaten owners where if you don't pony up for that new stadium, we'll move your team to LA. It's almost more valuable for the NFL to just keep it open to strong-arm owners with.
Which is a good strategy, especially the NFL wants to make them more money than they are.
Okay, guys. Well, now we just wrapped up our NFL segment. Great topics, guys, and great discussion. Now we're going to move on to the National Basketball Association.
What's our number again?
Yeah, our number to call in, again, it is 224-563-8444. And I'm Blake Devine, your host. We're with Andrew Goldstein.
Hey, everybody.
Matt Stolball.
And then
Snowball. There we go.
Snowball is the nickname.
Yeah,
Snowball.
Noah Tsaborda and Jake Liker. Okay, NBA now. We're going into the Summer League. We had just wrapped up our Summer League.
The Kings just won it, right?
The Kings had just won over the Houston Rockets in the new
well-scoring game.
Yeah, 77-68, I believe. And without being saying, guys, I'm going to hand it over to Matt first. Early Rookie of the Year picks, just based off of what you've seen in Summer League so far.
Well, I did like Jabari. I did like Wiggins. Wiggins is, he's got talent. He's very athletic. I think he's just got to work on more on the shot, but the athleticism's there. He's totally got that. He's a pretty good defender. Jabari, he's just a talented scorer, and I like that too. I can definitely see Jabari averaging 20 points per game this year, without a doubt. But my Rookie of the Year right now is probably Nerlens Noel. I love his post-up moves. He's getting the basket with ease. Nobody can really stop him right now in the summer league, at least. He is eligible for rookie. Could be the next Blake Griffin, where he gets hurt the whole year and plays and wins Rookie of the Year. I can definitely see that. He just looks like a solid player out there, and I don't know what. I didn't think he was going to be good, and he may still not be good. But right now, I think Nerlens, he's definitely the leading candidate, my leading candidate at least, to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, okay, so Andrew, what do you think? You've watched some of the summer basketball games, I assume, and who do you think impressed you the most?
Well, I think it's got to be Jabari. I mean, I know I'm being unoriginal. I wish I could disclose some sleeper pick, but I really can't find anybody that's more NBA ready than Jabari. He doesn't have the highest ceiling. That would probably go to Embiid, even though he's not going to be available for action immediately. But I just think that if you're looking at who has the highest floor, who's the most bust-proof guy in this draft, then it's Jabari. I think he can average at least 20 points a night in his first year, and I think that he is going to develop to be a great player in this league.
Go ahead.
Well, in the Summer League, it seems like everybody wants to focus on scoring. And I could be really biased and keep doing that and say Doug McDermott of the Chicago Bulls because he's averaged the most points and he's been really impressive. But
Jimmer 2.0.
I just can't see.
But here, to be honest, but I'm not going to go.
I can't see Doug being rookie.
Personally, here's the thing. I don't compare him to Jimmer because he can actually create his own shot and actually.
Oh, that's true.
He can actually rebound also.
That's the 2.0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got. I mean, he's much taller.
He's a rich man's Jimmer.
Yeah, he's much taller, much bigger. But to be honest, I think in the end, he's going to have such a minor role in the rotation in the front court with the Bulls. They have such a stacked front court. It's unrealistic.
Jabari.
Exactly.
We know what's going on with Wiggins, so I don't even want to.
Jabari will probably be the center of
Jabari and even Nerlens. FCW's there, but
he passes.
Got to pass.
He's going to pass a lot.
He's the big man.
I agree.
They need big men. And MCW and Nerlens, that's a good combo.
Yeah,
I like that.
I agree with
Jabari, there's really no one else to score besides Giannis, who averaged a decent amount. And had a good year.
He's a project.
Jabari is going to be the main scorer, we're going to be guessing. So I see Jabari scoring a lot of points, which is definitely, points definitely gets you a lot of votes for Rookie of the Year.
In the end, I agree with you. I think that Nerlens Noel takes it. And just thinking about the future of the 76ers team, when they have Embiid and Nerlens Noel down low, that's that's a very dangerous twin tower combination down there.
Those other
Michael Carter-Williams got a lot of
international guys that they got to wait for.
It's their team to watch for the future.
Could be a very special.
Well,
team.
also team to watch for the future. I'm kind of biased because I'm going to this city. I look at this Bucks team. I see Jabari. I see the Greek Freak. And I see a potential Larry Sanders comeback. And then if they tank this year and get a great rookie next year, which you know they're going to do, this is a very intriguing team.
Okay, Jake, you've been patiently waiting. What do you think about the Rookie of the Year picks and who you're leaning towards right now?
Here's the problem. If you're going to be Rookie of the Year, you have to be put in a position in which you're going to be able to shine. So, Andrew Wiggins, even if he turns out to be the best rookie in this class, he's going to be playing alongside LeBron. He's not going to get as many opportunities.
Even look at the last rookie years. Mark Carwell, 76ers, not so good. When David Lillard was on the Trailblazers, they didn't really do so well either. Blake Griffin, didn't Clippers, barely had a little over 20 wins. So if the worse the team you're on, the better chance you have one rookie.
So now everyone's tempted to say Jabari or Irwin. How about someone we haven't seen much from yet? Playing for a team that has been struggling, but is going to have some solid players with him in the future. I like what Dante Exum's doing.
Really?
I think he has the ability to put together a fantastic season. Nobody knows as much about him as the other prospects, which means he's a big question mark, and I think there's a lot of upside.
I know he has a lot of upside, but his shooting is really concerning right now. He really isn't that good of a shooter, and he's a good scorer. He can get coast to coast, but I don't know how that's going to come in the NBA. I think he's very talented.
What he does have that puts him above every other point guard, but even if he plays
he's
shooting
a
guard,
tall
he's 6'6",
guy.
he's
He
very
is a
lanky.
huge guy.
I-
he could be that magic.
He's been my favorite player basically in this draft since about I think a year ago. When I found out.
Basically, when he friended you,
when he friended me on Facebook was the
No
time.
matter how big you are, you got to learn to shoot.
Exactly.
But I've got to say
we're looking right
that Exum Oladipo backcourt looks very intriguing. If if the Magic can find a decent outlet passer, then I think that they're going to be able to launch some really good fast breaks.
Which means Elfrid Payton could also be very interesting fixing in that category.
We're at Dante Exum. We're actually talking about
the Jazz.
He's on the Jazz, not on the Magic.
You're looking at the Magic.
Everybody had them drafting him in mock, so it would.
I got confused there. Although I guess I was just dreaming about what those Oladipo Exum fast breaks would have looked like, and I falsely placed him on the Magic. My bad on that one.
Yeah, okay, guys. Now we're going to move on to a topic very similar. So the Cavaliers are supposedly going to sign Andrew Wiggins to a contract. All the talk about Kevin Love, the potential trade. What effect will this have on the Love potential to move to Cleveland? Do you think it's going to hurt it or it's going to help it? Jake, what do you think?
I think the sirens are going off in the Bay Area where he was destined to go all along. Kevin Love has said that he wants to play in the West Coast, but he wants to be able to contend for titles. They'll get a fresh start under Steve Kerr in Golden State. I think that this is the perfect opportunities for the Warriors to swoop in, make the move. There's nobody contending with them now. I think you have to look at pieces like David Lee, Harrison Barnes, Klay Thompson, be willing to give up 2 of those 3 in a sign and trade deal. And I think that will open the door to bring Kevin Love in and really start something special and make the Warriors an elite team because they've been so close. And the addition of Kevin Love would make them a scary good team.
I'm not really sure though if they were willing to hurt that backcourt and get rid of Klay Thompson. I know Steph Curry is probably the best 3-point shooter right now in the NBA, and Klay is right up there with them. But I'm really not sure they're ready to break up that duo. And though Kevin Love's a great player, who knows if Golden State does bad, he doesn't resign. That's still a possibility. That's one of the big reasons why people haven't been willing to give the star players. That's like the Cavs. They sign Wiggins. You have to wait 30 days before you can trade him again. At least give him a shot to see what he can do. Even if it's just preseason or a few regular season games, just see what Wiggins can do, and then go from there. I think that's what Cleveland's plan is. And I think a lot of this 1-year deal thing is making a lot of teams nervous because if Kevin Love doesn't resign with them the year after, they're in big trouble. So this Wiggins Cleveland thing is just more of a plan to see what Wiggins can do and give him more time to think about it. Because I don't think Golden State is going to really make a splash here. I think they're really not willing to go with Klay Thompson. That's what Timberwolves want. And I just don't see neither team budgeting right now. They haven't budgeted for a few months, so I don't see anything changing right now. So just really hasn't made a big difference.
These guys both seem to think that the chances of him landing in Cleveland are almost all but over. What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. I agree with Matt. First of all, I also want to say that I am a firm believer in trading Wiggins and trading Anthony Bennett as they will is a big mistake. I personally think Anthony Bennett will get 2 All-Stars out of his career. You know what? I think that look, first of all, he came in as a slightly overweight guy. And I think that was one of the big issues. And I think everybody knew coming in that he was a high ceiling.
Let's not use a euphemism. He was fat for last year.
Yeah. He had a very high ceiling, but a very low floor. And he didn't have the experience, I think, and the skill set yet. But he's developing that. He's cut down 20
Hitting
pounds.
Buffalo Wild Wings a little too much.
I mean, he's cut down 20 pounds. He's getting ready for the season. He's actually getting much better in the summer league. And I think, actually, this year, you know what? I see an 8-5 guy off the bench. I see a guy who can develop into...
He did have his moments in the summer league.
I
was like, come on now.
I think he can develop, though, into a Taj Gibson type of player off the bench who can come off and give them valuable minutes, who can rebound for them, and who can give them a decent amount of points. And maybe one day get an All-Star. You know, maybe he doesn't, but... And then you have Wiggins. Well, here's the thing. He has such a high ceiling, and he could end up being a franchise player. Now, if you have him, you've got Kyrie, you've got LeBron, and they all turn out to play exactly how they want. It may not happen, but the chance of that happening, me personally, I'm going to take that over Kevin Love, who may give you success right now, and he may give you a championship right now, but what if you don't win right now?
But that's my problem. Kevin Love, he is the best. He's up there, one of the best in the league. And if he doesn't, let's say Cleveland does not do what they expect. Does he resign? I don't know. That's what Cleveland's worried about, I think, and that's why they don't want to take that risk.
So, Andrew, waiting patiently, thank you for that.
Andrew, no problem.
If you were in Dan Gilbert's position right now, do you think you would still be trying to pursue Kevin Love, or do you think you would, after signing your rookie guy, your number 1 pick, do you think you'd kind of close the door on that one?
Well, I think that I would still try to pursue Kevin Love. And I think that Minnesota is overestimating what they can get for him, because I know that a couple days ago, it might even be a week ago at this point, Cleveland announced that Wiggins would be on the table in Love trade talks. And for a player that isn't, the best in the league or like one of the top couple players in the league, you're not going to get a better asset than the number 1 pick in the last draft on the first year of his rookie deal. That is among the most valuable trade chips and just regular old sit-on-it type assets you can have in the league. And if Minnesota wants much more than that, I really don't think they're going to get it. I mean, I feel like the longer this drags out, the more desperate Minnesota gets, and the more desperate Minnesota gets, the lower the value for Love is going to be. So I would just buy now.
Even
if I were
on
Minnesota.
Minnesota side, Flip Saunders doesn't even want to trade Kevin Love. He thinks he can still keep him and sign him a long-term deal and try to get the Timberwolves.
They're looking a little
play.
naive. They're naive. They don't seem to realize that if you don't win, your best player isn't going to stay, especially when he's the caliber. Like you said, he's, in my opinion, he's the best power forward in the league. Him and LaMarcus Aldridge. Yeah. But if you're not going to win, there's no way a guy who comes from UCLA, a team that had success when he was in college, that made it to the Final Four, is going to want to stay in a place that can't even get him to the playoffs.
Well,
Exactly.
also,
If I'm Dan Gilbert,
One at a time.
Oh, sorry. You could go. You could go.
If I'm Dan Gilbert, I am on my computer right now typing another strongly worded Comic Sans font letter and putting it on my website to bring in Kevin Love, because clearly that's his go-to way to bring in free agents. Do what you can to bring in Kevin Love if you're still going to re-sign Wiggins. If you can bring Love without getting rid of Wiggins,
which is probably unlikely.
but that's
not
not
gonna
a
happen.
dream scenario.
Kyrie. It's never going to happen.
All right, well, 2 things. One, this is tangentially related. I can't believe that Cleveland sucked for 4 solid years, got rewarded with the number 1 overall pick 3 out of those 4, and then got LeBron back. They got rewarded so much for mismanaging their team. But secondly, imagine you're Flip Saunders. You're on the hot seat. The Wolves aren't exactly the best team. You play in the West. You're worried about your job security. So your worst nightmare is losing Kevin Love for nothing. If you do that, you might as well pack everything in your desk and leave. But
I mean, yeah, you got a lot of pressure, but it's his first year. That's a really tough Timberwolves job. If you're
no, but I'm saying it is your first year. But if you miss it, but if
50th year, you're not going to Kevin Love. You can't give up Kevin Love for nothing. You can't.
But I'm saying like even if it is early, the Kevin Love deal is something that like if you screw it up, that is a fireable offense. But here's the thing. Let's say that cashes in on Kevin Love into win now assets from the Warriors. Let's say he gets Klay Thompson or whoever else he wants to get. And then let's say it doesn't work out. Now my plan's cooked and I'm gone. But what if I get the stuff from the Cavs? Now I could say, but wait, Wiggins has a couple years to develop. I've got those unprotected picks from Miami now. I got Bennett. I got a couple extra years of job security. So if he's worried about his job, the smartest thing to do would be to take the future assets from Cleveland.
It's not only the coach, though. It's the GM.
Yeah, and the president.
Okay, guys. Time. Okay, good discussion. Now moving on to our last topic on NBA. Western Conference favorite. This is a very, very stacked conference. You have Dallas. You've got Chandler Parsons, also re-signed Dirk Nowitzki. You have Memphis, who's always dangerous. Golden State, Portland, Houston, LA Clippers, Oklahoma City, San Antonio. Some may say it's been one of the most, you could arguably say it's been one of the most imbalanced NBA tips we've ever seen between the East and the West. It's just been one of the most powerful Western conferences stacking up on top of each other that we've ever seen. So Matt, who is the favorite now?
This is just one of those years where I wish the NBA had the system of top 16 teams to make the NBA, and we would see probably like 13 West teams or something like that, and a few Eastern Conference teams. But in the West, I mean, the Spurs still got to be the favorite because of, they won a championship last year. They're the defending champs. I don't care how old Tim Duncan is. He's still playing like a first-team All-NBA player. I mean, it's not like they lost anybody. They got Kyle Anderson, who was a pretty good rookie, re-signed D out. They still have Patty Mills. Still have a good bench. Rockets kind of got worse, so I don't see the Rockets really being contenders. Watch out for the Mavs, though. They're a little bit of my dark horse. I'm not really sure what's going to go on point guard because I don't have Jose Calderon anymore. But Monte Ellis, Chandler Parsons, Dirk, and Tyson Chandler, that's a pretty good starting lineup if you're not even knowing what your one's going to be. So I really like Dallas as a dark horse here, but I still have the Spurs. And, the Thunder and, the Clippers, they're still going to try to win the West, but I still have the Spurs winning the West and being the favorites this year.
Andrew, what do you think? Do you think the Thunder with the improvement of Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, or do you think the Clippers are ready to emerge? Or are you just going to stick with the faves, San Antonio?
I've got to stick with the faves. Well, before I get to that, I just want to go off Snowball's point and say that the NBA should do it as the best 16 teams make the playoffs as soon as possible. Like the divisions and the conferences.
I say schedule. Yeah, you may have to change a little bit of it.
Yeah,
schedule while we play. The other conference.
But I mean, like, the emphasis on divisions and conferences, that was all great in the 70s and 80s when everybody flew coach and stuff like that, but we can afford our own travel costs these days. It's time to do away with the conferences. They're a relic of a bygone era. But as for the favorites in the Western Conference, while one still does exist, you have to go with San Antonio. I mean, once again, I'm going with the boring pick, but my goodness, after what is it now, 15, 16 years of 55-plus win seizes, at some point it just becomes foolish to pick anybody else until they prove that you should. I've just learned not to doubt Tim Duncan, not to doubt Greg Popovich. They could be 60 and 80 years old, respectively, and I'd still pick them to win the West until they showed me a bad season.
Yeah, so Noah, what do you think right now? Who is the favorite in the West in a place where you just have, you could argue 12 teams all can make the playoffs in the West right now? Who is the favorite?
Well, for me, I'm trying to keep my streak alive. I got the Spurs and the Heat both in the final at the beginning of the season. And I trusted the Spurs because I kind of went against them for so many years in a row. But even though they're getting better, I think that it's time for Oklahoma City to make it. I think it's very difficult. And the Spurs are an amazing team. It's always going to be very, 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 very difficult to make it past that Spurs team. But here's the thing. It only takes one win in San Antonio. Memphis did it once and everybody said no, Spurs will win. Memphis got a crazy upset. It takes one win in San Antonio.
The Thunder need that one more score, like they had with James Harden when they did go to the Western Conference, when they go to the NBA Finals. They need that one more guy so that Kevin Durant and Westbrook don't have to worry about scoring every single point for the team. They need to feel that they don't have to do everything in terms of scoring for the Thunder.
Jake, who's the favorite and why?
Who? The favorite? I think the real question, if the question is who is the favorite,
that's
San Antonio. So the San Antonio is the favorite. San Antonio is the defending champions. Who do I think will win? I agree with no. It's Oklahoma City's turn. You know what? Putting Scotty Brooks in a coaching battle with Greg Popovich just isn't fair. But when you're deprived of a championship for so long, you only get hungrier and more motivated. We've seen it all the time in professional sports. Sometimes winning a championship can be the most dangerous thing for the next season, because I guarantee you the Spurs are going to be nowhere near as motivated as the Thunder and the Blazers.
With that being said, guys, I think we're going to go on to our first commercial break. But before that, I'm going to give another thank you to our guys, our guest contributors, Matt and Andrew. Great job tonight. We loved having you on. And feel free to be on our show anytime this week, or feel free to call in and give some advice.
Just like to say one more thing. Just remember, guys, on Spreaker Radio, Spreaker.com, try to find Sports Talk with Matt. You can listen. There's a few episodes up there. I got about almost 40 episodes up there now. So check out Sports Talk with Matt. You can check out my Twitter at mstillball54. Thank you guys for putting me on my show. Really appreciate it. And be sure to listen to Sports Talk with Matt as well. And listen to these guys. These guys are awesome too.
Before commercial break, I have to get my plug in there. Growing Up Green, Living, Dying Again as a Fan of the New York Jets. My book on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, paperback, hardback, and Kindle. You can check me out on Facebook. My Facebook page is Andrew Goldstein, author of Growing Up Green. And my Twitter is at AndyGold24. With that said, thank you very much for having me on. And please, anytime you want me back, anytime there's football or basketball to discuss or anything else, just give me a call. I'll be there.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Now, don't want to get suspended from Rugburn Ball for breaking curfew, so I got to get back to my room.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Yep, thank you guys again.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, they're great. Anytime.
Yep, thank you.
Two great guys, two great sports minds. So with that, we're going to take our first commercial break here and then come back with some college football. The first Two-Door Cinema. Thanks.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Are you looking for a unique take on the sports stories you just can't get enough of? Are you looking for a new spin on the sports stories you don't hear enough about? Then you should listen to Rookies Roundup, hosted by Jake Liker, once a week on Saturday nights or Friday nights. Follow the show on Twitter at Rookies Roundup. Like the Facebook page, it's also Rookies Roundup. Follow the host on Twitter at Jake Liker. And the rest is history. Don't forget to tune in and like our Facebook page. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody. Don't forget to catch Blake and Noah LA to Chicago once a week, normally on the weekends. Join co-hosts Blake Devine and Noah Taborda as they bring you the latest in the sports world, both on the field and off the field. You can follow us on Twitter at Noah Taborda or at Blake_and_Noah, or follow us on Facebook, just like the show title, to find out when our next show is. And don't forget to listen to the whole show for our signature section, the Say What. It's something you don't want to miss.
What I told you, Cutter. People see me, but they just don't know. People see me, but they just don't know. People, let's go. People see me, but they just don't know.
Welcome back to National Sports for Boston Day 2. We've had a great show so far. We had two guest contributors today, Andrew Goldstein and Matt Stolbach. I'm going to get that name right sometime.
They just call him Snowball.
Snowball. There we go. Well, we've had a great show so far. Now we're coming on to our second half. I know it's pretty late. Right now, currently Eastern time. We're at 11:39, so it's late for you guys in the East Coast. Central Time, like the boys from Chicago, it's 10:39, so not too bad. And then for people on the Pacific Coast, just like me and Jake, it's only 8:39, so...
And don't forget, again, mountain time zones, people are real too. Nevadans are people too. 9:39 mountain time.
9:39. So, and also, if it's too late for you, you can listen to the show on Spreaker, play it at any time. Check out the Facebook page. We'll put the link for the show. With that being said, moving on now to college football. One of the most exciting times of the year is summer, when we get to talk all of our predictions about what is going to happen in the college football season. It's very exciting because it's the first year that we've had the playoffs. 4 teams are going to be in the new playoff system. First year we've ever had this. Finally, the BCS era is over and we can move on. With that being said, the first topic is Jimbo Fisher right to say that the 1-game suspension that Jameis Winston had, he said that this was enough and he didn't deserve any more or any less. Noah, I'm going to give you the reins to this one first. What do you think about those comments?
Let's start with this. Obviously, the baseball suspension is obviously doing something. But I'm going to start with this. Even if he's right or even if he's wrong, I don't necessarily think there's a reason really to talk about it in that way. Say, it was an internal matter, we handled it as such, and that's that. To make the comment, start talking about it, he already said this before, and he was already talking about it before. He seems to be running his mouth a little bit on the topic. And look, people disagree that he only got a baseball suspension. Many people do. It's better to stay off the controversial topic because, especially being the defending national champions, the aim is to repeat. You ask Nick Saban that question, his response will be nothing like that. His response will be calculated, precise, and he won't answer. He'll say, well, we handled it internally, that's how it's going to go. And that's exactly what he'll say. But Jimbo, he's trying to, give a more complex answer, and though sometimes that's the right thing to do. In this scenario, I personally feel that a more simple and calculated answer would have been a little better.
Jake, what do you have to say when you think about Jameis Winston, a Heisman-winning quarterback, MVP of the 2014 National Championship team? Then he goes on to steal a crab leg in Tallahassee. Let me just tell you, Tallahassee is home to the Seminoles. They would have given him a free crab leg if he had asked, but he went on to steal it. Do you think the 1-game suspension was enough, or should he have gotten way more or way less?
Well, I think it's just interesting here. You have the national championship winning quarterback. You have the Heisman winner in one person in the NCAA, and he has to shoplift crab legs from the local Publix. It says a lot to the NCAA that this is what it has come to, when if he was being treated fairly, he would be making a lot more money. But that aside, no, I am going to actually have to disagree with you here. At some point, you have to address these matters.
But weren't they already addressed by the FSU baseball team? Did they have to be addressed now by the football team that has nothing to do with this at this point?
It's nothing to do with the football team.
How does it have anything to do
with this? The face of the football team.
At what point during the season? What sport was he playing?
Okay, let me just say my opinion on this. Being a Florida State fan, you know what? I think that Jimbo has no right to make a comment because was he playing on the football team at the time that he stole the crab legs? No, he was on the baseball team. The only person that should be talking about this is his manager on the baseball team. He got a 1-game suspension. It was made by the athletic department and the baseball program. Jimbo has no right to be answering questions about this. Let me get this straight. There should be no punishment for something he did when he was on the baseball team, and it should not transfer over to what happens on the football field because it was already addressed. With that being said, I think he made a very dumb decision, and I think he needs to be more public about his apologies because I really thought that he would do a better job, but my bottom hunch is that he needs to get somebody to help him with public relations because he has a problem with that. Jake, what do you have to say?
Well, right now it's about public relations, and he doesn't have very good relations with publics either. He's taking their crowd legs. But with that one fell a little fun. With Jameis Winston, he's been given such an opportunity, and he's not taking advantage of it. But to suspend him for a baseball game, at the end of the day, he's going to be in the NFL. He is a football player. Is there really that much of a punishment to suspend him 1 game in the baseball season? Because if I'm Jameis Winston, I'm getting free crowd legs for it all.
The thing is, isn't it? We all know it might not be a fair suspension. I think he should have suspended longer, at least in the baseball season.
Yes.
But that's not the question here. Jimbo Fisher is saying that basically that it should be just in the baseball season, which is correct. It is correct. And the question isn't whether he should have been suspended more. It's rather, to a certain extent, football should be penalized. And I think here's the big reason people want him to be penalized. Because most people aren't Florida State fans. Most people know that if Jameis isn't playing, their school has a much better chance. In the end, I personally feel that Jimbo should keep his nose out of baseball. He's right in what he said, but he doesn't have to go butting in. And baseball controls. They may have made a mistake. Maybe 5 games, 10 games, maybe in the season, if that was what they came to in baseball. But it shouldn't branch out to football because that's the sport he is playing right now.
I'm getting a call right now. We have a call from Robert Dieters, one of our most called in guys. We're going to answer the phone right now. Hello, Robert, are you there?
Yeah, Blake. I know you guys are in Boston right now having the time of your life. I just wanted to ask you about the NBA free agency. Sorry if you're in the middle of the segment. But, I got to ask you guys, with the Miami Heat losing LeBron James, you get Luol Deng in there, and you still have Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. Is this team still playoff contender, and are they going to win the finals this year?
Yeah, you know what? I'll answer that quickly. And then Jake, I know he's waiting to answer that question the minute he heard that, but I personally think the Miami Heat made a very, very smart move by getting Luol Deng because he's a replacement for LeBron. They're still not going to be the same quality of team, in my opinion, but this is a team that has an immediate shot to be a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. I'm not making any guarantees that this team is finals caliber because even if they reach the finals, there's no way I think that they would have a chance of winning an NBA championship. But you have 2 of the big 3 left. Granted, you don't have LeBron James, who is the biggest name in that sport right now, but you have Luol Deng, who is an all-star caliber player. So I think they're going to be in great position to get a top 3 seed in the East, but no chance at a championship in the immediate future. And Jake,
the question, will they be a contender for the Eastern Conference playoffs? They lost LeBron James, but they got Josh McRoberts, they got Shabazz Napier, they got Danny Granger, they still have Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, and the question is, are they going to contend for the Eastern Conference playoffs? I mean, or that would be saying if you are not a contender for the Eastern Conference playoffs, you would have to be a bottom 5 team in the Eastern Conference. There's no way that this team is a contender, and they can make
bottom
it
7.
yeah.
Bottom 7.
No, because if you're the 9, if you're 9-10 spot, you were still able to contend for the playoffs.
Well, theoretically, there's actually no number, not necessarily. You could be 20 games back, basically.
Yeah, Robert, okay, so any other questions? Right now we're talking about, is Jimbo Fisher right to say that the 1-game suspension that Jameis Winston received for stealing the crab legs, is it right that he only got a 1-game suspension, or do you think he should have gotten more?
I think 1-game suspension is fine. He only stole crab. It's not like yes, crab's very expensive these days, but I think a 1-game suspension isn't, I think is good for Jameis Winston. By the way, he's a freaking football player. Let's all get that through here. Right? Let's get that through everyone's head. He's not going to play baseball. He's just going to be playing football. Is he going to get him a lot of popularity like Johnny Manziel is? He probably will. So that's just my opinion. But I think 1-game suspension, I think was perfect.
Okay, well, any other questions or things you'd like to add?
Yeah, sure. I'll shoot. Are the Cleveland Cavaliers for real with LeBron James? And do you think the Cleveland Cavaliers will get Kevin Love? And who do they trade to get Kevin Love?
Well, we talked about this earlier, and first of all, I think the Cavaliers are definitely a team that can contend for an Eastern Conference championship, but I don't think that they are a title contender just yet. I think the Western Conference is still too strong for a team that really has no playoff experience whatsoever. Now, will they get Kevin Love? Well, they're probably going to sign Wiggins, which means they'll at least have a month with Wiggins before they can trade him, and I think they're going to experiment and see how he pans out. I personally would not trade for Love. But knowing Cleveland and knowing how desperate they are, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade for him. I just want Cleveland to remember that the last time you tried trading and signing players just completely as your method of making your team around LeBron James good, it didn't turn out well. Its name was Antoine Jameson, and that was horrifying. That was a horrifying experiment.
Well, Robert, we appreciate you calling into our show today. We're going to wrap it up here, but feel free to call in or text in anytime on our National Sports Show, Day 2 in Boston. Thanks, Robert. Okay, well, that was Robert Dieters, our president, a very fan-friendly guy who loves to call into our shows and always shares his great advice and a little bit of biasness toward the San Francisco teams. But hey, everybody loves their teams. Jake, what do you have to say?
So back to this whole Florida State thing. Here's what I would ask the viewers at home. If you are the coach of the defending national champions and your star player, your quarterback, is arrested or gets in trouble off the field, you have to address this. Because if you don't address this, it seems like you're sweeping it under the rug. And that happens far too often these days. Athletes getting off easy and their primes being swept under the rug. So I think at the end of the day, it's good that it's being addressed. It needs to be addressed. It's the elephant in the room. It's not something that can go ignored. He's the face of your team. He had an off-the-field issue. As the coach of this team, it's something you have to address.
Okay, well, we just wrapped up our college football segment, and now we're going to be heading into our last part of this great show we've had tonight, Major League Baseball. And the question, we're only going to have one question. We can talk about standings some of the other days. We talked about baseball yesterday, but the question is, should the Rays trade David Price? This is a guy who is consistently a Cy Young contender every single season, but the Rays are tanking right now, people. They're out of the division. There's no chance they're going to win, but would they be wasting a potential chance to win in the future? Jake, what do you think?
Well, I mean, first of all, this is the AL East. They have a chance. They're only 7.5 games out. So only 7.5 games out.
But I just think they've done better of late. But they're a team that has struggled in both sides of the ball. You can't win with that.
What happens when you start playing in the drop? Here's how I feel from a fan of my team or from the personnel of my team. David Price does not want to play for the Tampa Bay Rays. I am not going to hold on to a player that does not want to play for me. I am going to trade him, and I'm going to get great value from him. And I'd say, you know what? Trade now, because he is at one of the best points in his career. His value is very high right now. Why keep a guy that doesn't want to play for you, rather than trade him and get some 2 or 3 really good players that are going to be able to propel you above and perhaps maybe into playoff contention? If a guy doesn't want to play for your team, don't keep him.
Noah, what do you think? I mean, David Price is a guy that he's a Cy Young contender, like we said, every single time, every single season, every single start he goes out, you expect to win almost because he's that dominant. Why should they trade him?
Well, let's start with this. Look, as you said, the Rays still have a chance. That's actually a 7.6% chance according to ESPN. So they have a chance. It's just really unlikely.
Saying there's a chance.
It won't happen most likely. And you know what? That's okay, to be honest with you. The Rays may be dropping, but they have an opportunity here to rewrite the ship. They can say, look, we're headed that way, but what we need to do, we need to go the opposite direction. We need to bring in some new talent, and they made a mistake. Let's start with that. They need to recognize the fact that they waited too long. The deal with the A's, it could still happen, but the A's were ready to make a deal with them, and you know what happened? The Cubs said, oh, we're already ready. We'll give you some Marjan Hamill right now. Just give us Addison Russell, Dan Straley, and another prospect. And they did it because the Cubs were ready. The Rays have been questionable. They've been asking for a lot more than they really will ever get. And I think that for that reason, they have to trade him. His value is high. It's the best possible decision right now.
Okay, well, guys, I think we've had a great episode today on this National Sports Day 2 from Boston. We've had some great guest contributors, Jake Leiker, Noah Taborda, and I'm Blake Devine, the host. And we're going to be signing out. We've had some great speakers, like I said, Andrew Goldstein. We've had our boy Matt coming on the show today. And just quickly wrapping it up real quick, shout-outs. Jake, one shout-out for you, one shout-out for Noah, and then one for me before we wrap it up.
Shout-outs, no plugs. I think
Can I go to my shout-out because he's about to leave the room? A shout-out to Ryan. What a great guy.
What a great guy. We love you, Ryan. Love you all. So we do shout-outs, but we don't do shameless self-promotion here?
You can do a shout out to yourself.
Shout out to my Twitter. Man, that sounds terrible. Just follow me on Twitter at Jake Lego. My real shout out is actually going to go to Adrian Gonzalez, who got on base not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 times tonight as the Dodgers won again, this time against the Pirates.
Noah, shout out.
I really have no idea what I'm going to do. Here, you know what? Shout out to all of us and everybody who's been on the show. You know, we have had Greg.
Well, now I sound like a terrible person.
We've had Andrew. We've had Matt. And everybody who's just contributed to the show. And of course, there'll be more, but I just want to shout out to them because it's been a real pleasure in getting to know the people in Boston.
Yeah. How about for me? I'm going to give a shout out to all the listeners tonight and everybody that is liking our pages on Facebook. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. You are the reason that we power through and do this. Another shout out to our episode. Tomorrow we're going to have day 3 from Boston. We might have some other shows on national sports. I know a few of our guys are actually at Arizona State right now at a camp. So shout out to National Sports Network on Spreaker.com. With that being said, I'm your host Blake Devine signing out. Have a great night, everybody.
When I met you in the summer, to my heartbeat sound, we fell in love as the leaves turn brown, and we could be together, baby.